On YouTube, Cloverbell's here back with another Series 12 team building video, and today we're looking at the Bacon Bird and the Sun Lion. We're looking at Yveltal and Solgaleo. So these two have intrigued me for quite a while now. I've tested them before, but I couldn't quite find the right fit around them. I think I've got something better than what I originally had at the start of the format, and now I'm going to share with you what I think is a pretty solid way of trying to run these two. So obviously, you know, with Yveltal and Solgaleo, the things you have to consider is one, you know, Solgaleo actually likes Yveltal's presence here because think about what Solgaleo is weak to, right? Calyrex Shadow just absolutely murders our friendly little Sun Lion here, but what better way to counter the Calyrex Shadow than with your other restricted partner friend and in Yveltal, right? So that's why the combination works. And you know, Yveltal doesn't really appreciate, you know, ice moves from stuff like, you know, a Kyurem White, for example, or even like a Calyrex Ice Rider. But Solgaleo more than happily can deal with both of those options, right? And you know, just in general, you know, Solgaleo again, you know, that doesn't like ground type attacks, you know, Max Quake or, you know, even like Earthquake, even though we can technically take it because we're very bulky, but as long as you just pivot out into your Yveltal, everything is okay. So something like a Groudon might give Solgaleo some trouble, but Yveltal can do very well against Groudon, especially with, you know, just giving it a foul play, especially after a Swords Dance from Groudon. You can absolutely punish that with a foul play. So, you know, both of these combos, but just fits well together. All right, now the question is, what do you build around it? So, okay, we got Yveltal, we got Solgaleo. Now, I think from here, what you want to do is something like this, where you add a Grimmsnarl to the team, just to further add to the bulk of both of these mons, right? So this is the main core of the team. You know, Grimmsnarl, Yveltal, Solgaleo. Now, of course, this is going to be a screen supporting Grimmsnarl. You know, just Light Screen, Spirit Break. I'm sorry, Light Screen, Reflect would be your screens options, right? And you know, especially against like stalling out Tailwind or Trick Room turns, Grimmsnarl does a lot. And you know, stuff like against Palkia and even opposing Yveltal, Grimmsnarl does very, very well because Solgaleo doesn't want to deal with Yveltal too, right? So that's why Grimmsnarl is also on the team, just to be able to handle Yveltal just by going for those Spirit Breaks. So you know, that's why Grimmsnarl earns that slot. Now from here, what I think we want to go with next is a little bit of a surprise option. I kind of like Tapu Fini right now on this kind of team. So you know, Fini is still a very, very good mon, and I think it's a little bit better than it was in Series 11 because the usage of Rillaboom has gone down, and with the rise of opposing Yveltals and Palkias in the format, I think Tapu Fini can do very, very well here. And you know, back in, you know, think of Series 7, even when this was like Metagross and Fini, you know, the advantage here is Metagross can go for something like Max Steel Spikes and Max Quakes and boost your Tapu Fini, and then Fini just doesn't die, right? Because you're running Calm Mind and Leftovers. You can alternate Calm Mind and Protect, you know, get Recovery, and then just stay bulky in the end game and be a very good source of damage after you get enough Calm Mind boosts, and then you just don't die behind screens and, you know, Max Quake and Steel Spike boost. So Fini becomes a pretty good late game option on the team. All right, then from here, where do we go? I think we have to go with Incineroar, just because Zacian can give you know, a lot of teams trouble, but Incin is a very good mon to have on the team against Zacian. You know, you got your Intimidate cycling, and you also get some fake out pressure, and this is also good against opposing Calyrexes because you have a dark move for the Calyrex Shadow matchup, even though you already have Yveltal, but you have a boosted dark move damage thanks to Yveltal. And then you have, you know, stuff like Parting Shot cycling, you know, just to render the opponent's Pokemon a little bit more weaker than they normally should be. And Yveltal can do that too, right? With something like Snarl. But yeah, so Incin is just like a restricted in itself. Like we know what Incineroar does. All right, now the last slot on the team, we could use a little bit more speed control and something a little bit more for something like Kyogre, especially if it's Tonogre. And I think Regieleki can be that play. And specifically like a Focus Sash. So Alright, so this is our 6, right? We have Yveltal, we have Solgaleo. Solgaleo can also deal with Zacian in itself, right? Because the only thing that Zacian can really do is go for Sacred Swords, you know, to bypass those defenses. And if your Solgaleo is relatively healthy, it's going to take more than one Sacred Sword to get past it. And then you can just go for, you know, like Earthquake plays and just absolutely smash Zacian, and even like Max Quakes. So Zacian can't really do too much there. You know, your Kyogre matchup is a little bit better with Screens and Yveltal, and then now you have an Alecki. You have the, you know, your Zacian matchup and other physical mons a little bit better covered with Intimidate Cycling from Incineroar, and the Screens is going to help it, you know, just preserve its longevity. In terms of the Sun matchup, this is also why Finny's on the team a little bit. Like, yes, you're weaker to Venusaur, I guess. But, you know, against Trick Room teams, like with the Mungus that want to go for Spore, or things that want to go for, you know, Burns onto Solgaleo, or even Sleep It, especially even Venusaur in the Sun, for those fast sleep powders. Tapu Fini says nuh-uh with the Misty Surge. So that's another purpose for Finny on the team. You know, it does very well. Now, you have a little bit of reduced damage against Groudon with the Sun out, but you know, you're not just only clicking Muddy Water, you can also click Moonblast. But yeah, this is the 6, so I think this is a solid 6 to try and use Yveltal Solgaleo. So let's just go ahead and reveal the GIFs. We have Tapu Fini, we have Grimmsnarl, we have Incineroar, and Regieleki. So now from here, let's just go ahead and hash out the moves, the items, and the EVs. So let's start here with Yveltal. So there's a few items you can run in Yveltal. You can run, like, you know, Weakness Policy, Life Orb, or Assault Vest. I think the Assault Vest is still very much its best item in this particular format. Are there teams that can utilize it with Life Orb and Weakness Policy? Oh yeah, absolutely. Is this team one of them? No. So Oblivion Wing for our stab move. This is our recovery move, and this is what Yveltal does best. Weaken opponent's Pokemon, and, you know, just stay healthy on the field, be bulky, and, you know, just over time wear the opponent down with its moves like this. And then Snarl is the same thing, you know, weaken their special attack, so this way, you know, you can set up your endgame with Tapu Fini in the back. And then from here, Sucker Punch, you know, you can pin the Calyrex Shadow Rider and its stab Sucker Punch, so it's going to do a lot to other things that don't resist it. And then finally, Foul Play. You know, you can punish those that want to go for Weakness Policy procs, and then, you know, something like opposing Thunderous, where, you know, if you lead Regieleki Yveltal, you can go for like Electro Webs, give Thunderous the Defiant proc, and then go for Foul Play, because then you can outspeed it, and then you can pretty much just one-shot that thing. You know, or maybe not even like one-shot it, but like deal some big damage to it, to the point where like anything else can just kill it. So yeah, this is really good. Now for Solgaleo, now we can't really run Weakness Policy on here because we don't really have a proc. So this is going to be one of those Solgaleos where we're going to be running Life Orb. Yeah, I think Life Orb Solgaleo is really strong, and especially when you don't have Tailwind on the team. I think if you run Tailwind with like a self procer, then Weakness Policy is a good item. But, you know, if you don't have that procer, then you have to kind of either go like Assault Vest or Life Orb. But we already have the Assault Vest on the Yveltal, so I think Solgaleo benefits a little bit better with the Life Orb, and now you can just go for like immediate damage and pressure the opponent like from the beginning, especially when you Dynamax. So Sunny Day, I meant to type Sun, Steel Strike. Alright, Earthquake, and, you know, unlike Metagross can't, even though Metagross can learn Earthquake, it's not really optimal. I'd much rather use Stomping Tantrum, but Solgaleo can very much go for Earthquakes next to Yveltal, and, you know, it just does big damage, and then Yveltal can just clean up from there, you know, with like Oblivion Wings, or, you know, even Foul Play. So it's a good move next to it. From here, I think we want Rock Slide, so especially Life Orb Rock Slide does a lot of damage, good into other opposing flying types, and it's great into Charizard, especially if you can get speed control on it, which we definitely can. And then of course our last move is Protect. Okay, Grimmsnarl, very standard set here. It's going to be Light Clay with Spirit Break, our stab move. Again, very good against opposing Yveltals, very good against Palkias and other special attackers in general, especially like Kyogre if you can get it off. Light Screen, Reflect, and finally Thunder Wave, right? This is our good speed control move, and we can also use this against Calyrex Shadow, and then, you know, even like your Solgaleo can outspeed it, but, you know, you don't really need to bother with Calyrex when you have an Yveltal. Okay, as long as you position properly. And then from here, Tapu Fini. So leftovers, Calm Mind Fini, of course. So Muddy Water, good strong water stab move. I mean, it hurts when you miss, but you know, just don't miss. Moonblast, and again, a good fairy move, and then Calm Mind, right? And then finally Protect. So, you know, again with Fini, you just want to properly position it where, you know, if you can get next to Solgaleo and get those, you know, Quake boosts and defense boosts, Fini's hard to kill, even for like the big Uber restricted. So, you know, you can't really sleep on this thing. It does very good damage, and then it can become a late game Dynamax option after, you know, a couple Calm Mind boosts, and especially behind Grimmsnarl screens. Yeah, it does very well. Incin. So I think what you can do with Incin is just have a little bit more security against Sun. You can go with a couple of items here. You can go, I think, Shuka. You can go Safety Goggles, or you can go Citrus Berry. I think both of those are good. Because we have Fini here for, you know, the terrain, I think it's okay for Incin to go with the Citrus Berry here, and, you know, just go with like Flare Blitz, Fake Out, Parting Shot, and of course Throat Chop, you know, our Dark Stab. Very good next to Yveltal, and you know, this move is good against other Incineroars because it stops them from using their sound moves such as their own Parting Shot or their own Snarl. So that's why it's a little bit better than Darkest Lariat. And then finally here with Regieleki, we're going to be Sash. Alright, good speed control with Electro Web, this is what we want. And then Thunderbolt, you know, Electric Stab move. Volt Switch, our pivot move. You know, sometimes if Regieleki doesn't like you know, ground type attacks, you can always pivot out and go into your Yveltal, and now, you know, they feel sad when their ground type hits a flying type. And then finally Protect in our last slot. Now, having said this, like you got 3 ground weaknesses, so technically what you can do is if you could switch out the Citrus Berry for like Shuka Berry, especially, you know, when you have to pivot your Incin against Groudon. I think Shuka Berry is quite nice. I've been testing all 3, and all 3 have been pretty good in terms of like the Sugar Berry, the Citrus Berry, and the Safety Goggles. But I think Goggles less than the other 3, just because you have a Fini already, so you don't really have to worry too much about sleep. Okay, but I think Citrus is still okay, at least to me. All right, so now we've got the moves, we've got the items, so let's go ahead and do the move sets. I'm sorry, the Eevee. So again, we're just gonna go with the standard cookie cutter Yveltal here. We don't need anything straight complicated. Max speed is what we want here with 151. So at the very least, we can outspeed Speed Creepers of Calyrex Shadow Rider at +1. And then from here, you just need to go first bump with the Modest Nature. So you see how you go from 174, now you're gonna go to 176. So I think that's relatively fine. And again, if you don't know what EV bumps are, you gotta comment in the video so that way I can explain what an EV bump is. Because if you want to play competitive Pokemon, you gotta know what EV bumps are. Alright, and I feel like I ask this in every video, and someone always comments what are EV bumps, which is good. That's what I want. So this way I can explain to you, and that way if I explain, more and more people will understand, and now you're better suited to play this game we call Pokemon, right? Now from here, I just want a little bit extra bulk. Like that's what you want Yveltal to do. Like Yveltal is not meant to do like big extra super damage like other restricteds like Zacian or Kyogre or Calyrex. It's meant to be bulky, meant to be annoying on the field, and meant to weaken your opponent's Pokemon, while your other Dynamax options meant to do most of the work. Alright, so from here we just want to optimize our HP for you know, Sand and Hail Chip, and I believe 223 is a very good number, because if you do the math, 223 divided by 16 is 13.9 something, which rounds down to 13 damage per turn that you would take from your Sand and Hail damage, right? Especially when your Solgaleo goes for max Rock Ball. And then from here, you just have 1 point in the defense, and then just 2 more in special defense. So this way you have an even number when you have the Assault Vest. So this way you get the best bang for your buck. If you have an odd number when you have the Assault Vest, it's not so optimal, because then when you do this number times 1.5, you get a decimal. It's like, you know, always ending in 0.5, and then that rounds down. So you're basically like wasting EVs that way. So if you get an even number, now you get a whole number when you do the multiplier boost. So very standard Yveltal spread here, nothing too crazy. Solgaleo is also going to be relatively standard. What you want to do with Solgaleo here is, because you're Jolly, the main thing you want to do is outspeed not only Modest Yveltal, but Jolly Landorus, right? Because Landorus can give Solgaleo some problems, especially when it goes for like Life Orb Max Quake. You don't want to take that. So what you want is to be 158, I believe, is our speed for Solgaleo, just so that we can outspeed that Landorus. And then from here, we just optimize our HP for Life Orb chip. You want to end in a 9. Okay, so this way, you know, you just have a little bit more HP. So this way, when you do the division divided by 10, right? What's 219 divided by 10? 21.9, which rounds down to 21 damage per turn you would take from Life Orb chip. If you break the threshold and go to 220, now you're taking 22 damage per turn, and you don't want to do that. Why would I be taking 22 damage when I can take 21 damage, right? As if I just go to 219 HP. All right, and then from here, just a tiny piece of bulk in both departments here. Nice even numbers for Max Quake and Max Steel Spike, and then the rest just dump it into attack. Like 187 is a good number. This number is what you would want when Solgaleo has a weakness policy anyway, before the proc. Okay, so that's if it was adamant. So and we have the Life Orb here, so this is already really strong. All right, Grimmsnarl here. There's no secret with what we want with Grimmsnarl. It's going to be the same one that we've been doing. Careful Nature. All right, second AV bump, right? Because you're going from 119 and then boom, 121. You skip the 120 mark. So there's that. And then from here, just a tiny bit of speed just to outspeed other Grimmsnarls. And then 156 defense investment, 1 point in the attack, and then the rest in HP. And what this Grimmsnarl spread does is after an Intimidate from Incineroar with Reflect, you live a Jolly Zacian Behemoth Blade. All right. Shout out to JoeUX9 for this spread. Yeah, this is where we got it from. Now, Tapu Fini. Okay, so another relatively standard mon that we're gonna just, you know, do some simple EVs for. Obviously, we want to do Modest because we're trying to hit relatively hard. But in terms of our speed tier, again, instead of like 112, I think you can go 113 this way. If, you know, Regieleki goes for Electrowebs or Yveltal clicks Max Airstream, you can outspeed base 100s, especially the speed creepers, because we're going 113. So you can outspeed stuff like Charizard, Entei, Zapdos, which can give Finny some problems. So yeah, I think that's relatively solid. And then you just want third EV bump here with the special attack investment. So let's see where the bumps are. So right here, here's the first one. You see how it goes from 130 to 132. All right, and then every bump is 80 EVs invested, and there's 3 bumps in the 252 bar. So here's 36 investment. So another 80 EVs would be 116 investment. So let's go to 116. All right, so here's 108. So here's your stat is 141. If I go to 116, boom, you went to 143. You skipped the 142 mark. All right, that's what we mean by an EV bump. But I want to do more damage than this, so I need another 80 EVs investment to go to my third bump. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. 116 plus 80 is 196. So that's what I'm doing. So you see how you go from 152 to 154. You skipped 153. So there's the bump there. And then from here, you just want 244 HP just to optimize your HP for leftovers recovery. Because if you go to 177, then you get a decimal when you try to do your leftovers recovery. And you don't want a decimal. You want a whole number. So just put it just put it like this. So now you have 8 EVs left. So just put 1 point in the defense and then the special defense, and then that's all you need. All right, Ensign. All right, so I've been using a more bulkier Ensign with special defense and a faster Ensign, and I think I'm gonna keep it that way because I have the Grimmsnarl on the team. So now we're just gonna go for Careful Nature. This is my old Ensign spread. You know, I've been using this a lot. First EV bump in the special defense with 76 investment. 95 speed Incineroar with 116 investment. All right, and then from here, just going for, where is it? Yeah, this is what we want. Something like this, where we have an even number in the HP to optimize Citrus Berry recovery, and then this defense investment lets you live Zacian close combat after an Intimidate. Okay, and 95 is also a good number just for something like Lapras if they want a Dynamax. And then you're faster, so you can go for a parting shot first before they go for their attack. But this kind of speed is also relatively nice in Trick Room because it means your parting shot goes last before theirs. And the reason why you want that is if they go for their parting shot and they bring in their something, then your parting shot goes next. right? And so whatever they bring in, you get to parting shot. All right, so that's one benefit there. And then you're probably going to be faster than 90% of the other Incineroars, so your fake out goes first, and sometimes that can win you a game. All right, so that's why I like a little bit of a faster Incineroar, 95 speed. And then Regieleki. Oh, by the way, don't you dare speed creep my Incineroar. I better not see 96 speed Incineroars, okay? All right, if you're one of those people that do 96 speed Incineroars to speed creep me, I need to know your name in the comments, okay? Nobody speed creep my Incineroars. All right, Regieleki, standard. This is Focus Sash, 252, 252. That's all you need, okay? So this is the team. All right, so let's just quickly put up a paste. And again, we're gonna show now just like a bunch of games on ladder, not ladder, but well, yes, technically ladder, but on Showdown ladder on the test account where we see how this team can perform. But I'll show this team again at the end, just where I give some final thoughts. But on paper, looks solid. I mean, I don't have any original complaints or at the moment. So let's go ahead and give it a go. Always forget to show some damage calcs before I go into the battle. So let's look at Solgaleo and let's look at some offensive calcs. So this is something against Zacian, Behemoth, not Zacian Behemoth, against Zacian in general. So Max Quake, Life Orb, Max Quake into just 252, 252 Jolly Zacian. You just one-shot it. And you don't do this if you don't get your weakness policy procced, right? So that's why the Life Orb, you just get that immediate damage overall. If it's something like, let's say, you know, Thunderous or even Landorus, let's do Landorus first, just to see how well we can take a Quake. So if we go like standard Lando here, you know, Earth, Dynamax this, you know, Max Quake does a little more than half, but our Steel Spike does also quite a bit. Now here's the thing, if we get the Reflect up, Max Quake doesn't do a whole lot, and we also have Instant in the back. But again, you know, if this is Life Orb, how much is this doing? It does quite a bit, 80%. So we can still live one Max Quake, you know, from a Life Orb Landorus, which is good to know. All right, and then, you know, our Steel Spike does, you know, a considerable amount, and then Yveltal can just win the game with like Foul Play once the max is over. But yeah, just knowing that is really, really good. Groudon. So Groudon spread move here. Let's just go like Citrus Groudon here. I want to make it like 156, just to be a strong Groudon. So no max. P-Blades does a lot, 90% actually, so you can take one P-Blades, so you are going to have to intimidate this thing or get the Reflect up. If you have the Reflect up, it'll do at least half, alright, to 60%, so it's still very, very big damage. You don't want to have to take this if you don't have to, so this is where Yveltal can really come into play against the Sun matchup. Like Yveltal, Incin, and Grimmsnarl will help you carry, and then, you know, just do what you need to do from there. I think there's one other thing I was trying to consider, but I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's okay. So now let's just go let's just go ahead and take a look at some Yveltal calcs. Okay, so this is Yveltal against second EV Bump Groudon. Look how much Foul Play does to it. It just does so much damage, and you know, that's like basically in range for Life Orb Sunsteel Strike and vice versa. So, you know, you don't have to one-shot the Groudon, you just have to chip it enough where either your Solgaleo or Yveltal can win the game with Foul Play or Sunsteel Strike. And that's what you want here. Now for Zacian, this is where things can get tricky. Now for standard Zacian, like Behemoth Blade absolutely murders it, but Play Rough one-shots it. So how do you stop this? If you have Reflect, alright, Behemoth Blade does a little bit less, but Play Rough can still potentially one-shot you, right? You can live it technically, you know, it has a 18% chance to one-shot you only, which is a little bit favorable. This is jolly, but then if you get the Intimidate with the Reflect, that's where you can survive Play Rough, and this is where Behemoth Blade just does no damage. And then, you know, Intimidate makes your Foul Play do less, but look at that, you're still doing 40% to Zacian even after it's intimidated. And if it's not intimidated, I always like to show people this Foul Play does 51 to 60% damage to Zacian with Foul Play. So if you can get speed control on Zacian, Yveltal wins the game. That's what I want to know. That's what I'm gonna say. Like Thunder Wave this or even Electro Web it, then Yveltal just clicks Foul Play, does so much damage, and then your Instant can just click Flare Blitz and it dies, right? So this is how you have to plan when you're going against Zacian, right? You don't have to one-shot it. You just have to chip it so that way you can kill it later on. That's the whole idea. All right. Pokemon's not about one-shotting things. All right. It's about positioning and getting things in range where whatever you have in the back can finish the job. All right. I just want people to know that. Now for something like what else? Can this thing live? I want to look at Charizard for a second because Gmax Charizard is scary. I'm just gonna go 252, 252 like a normal person, not my crazy cracked spread that people are afraid to try. Now, timid, I want to say, let's say Blast Burn here, and then Hurricane. So Blast Burn, not Beak Blast, and then Hurricane in this slot. So Wildfire and Blast Burn. So Dynamax Zard, right? So Gmax Wildfire does very, very big damage. But again, we have a Yveltal. Look how little this does. And then you have Light Screen. That does no damage. I mean, Yveltal is just an absolute tank. And remember, we're not even max. I just want people to also understand we're not even max. And Yveltal can very much tank Charizard here. So, you know, very, very cool to know. Now, what about like Kyogre? Like Modest Kyogre, I think we can also tank that as well. So like this, like if it goes for Hailstorm, again, that doesn't even kill. And if we have the Light Screen, oh, forget it. That doesn't even do half. So Yveltal, once again, is proving that it is an absolute monster of a tank to be able to tank stuff like this. So anyway, now let's just go forward here. Okay, so this is the Grimmsnarl thing that I was showing. So look how like, so let's remove this for a second. So this is against Zacian. You get murdered by Behemoth Blade Jolly Zacian, right? Even with Reflect, you still die. But if you can pivot your other slot and then click Reflect with, you know, you pivot your Incin and then get Reflect up, you actually live the Behemoth Blade, and then that's really good because then next turn you can click Thunder Wave or you can click Light Screen, and then that sets you up for, you know, some endgame scenarios. So I just always wanted to show this calc just in case people don't believe me. Okay, so this is Kyogre Eternatus. Oh, that's actually an interesting combo. I may explore that in the future. He's got Regieleki, Torn, that's standard. Metagross, okay, yeah, I'm a big fan of Metagross on a rain team. I've done it before, and there's a Clefairy for some reason. I don't think that belongs. I think he'd much rather use the Amoonguss. But anyway, so here we go. So again, this is where something like Aleki can come in handy because you have the Tornogre combo, and you know, just getting speed control with your Focus Sash is really, really nice. Tapu Fini also looks pretty good here, just being a late game option with Calm Mind setup, and if you can put it next to Solgaleo, I think it can do very, very well, which I believe Solgaleo should be leading here. There is a Metagross, so you can make the argument for Yveltal, especially against something like Eternatus. But there is a Regieleki, and Kyogre might also know an Electric move. But the Yveltal looks pretty good here as well. So you got a lot of options here. But in the end, I just went with Solgaleo and I believe Tapu Fini in the lead with Regieleki in the back. All right. And Yveltal as well. So here's Clefairy Kyogre. I have no idea why he did this. I'm going to ignore the Clefairy, and that makes it more convenient because I'm going straight for the Kyogre. I want that Water Spout to do no damage, and that's exactly what he did. Still did a decent chunk, but again, this is where Fini's now starting to set up the Calm Minds. And now we're starting to get recovery. There's the Metagross here, but again, I don't care about the Clefairy. I can kill that whenever. I just want the Kyogre dead. And now Tapu Fini goes for another Calm Mind. So right away for 2 turns, we killed the restricted, one of them at least, and our Tapu Fini is getting ready for now the middle to the end game. And now he's probably just going to max this thing, this Metagross, which I'm going to ignore for a while. Because I don't want to proc a Posse. So there's the Clefairy again, and he maxes the Metagross. So now I'm just going to go for the Steel Spike into the Clefairy, protect or no protect, and now my Fini can get a defense boost. Okay, and now I go for the Muddy Water, and that's really good. That's pretty solid damage against a Dynamax thanks to the rain from Kyogre. So I like that damage a lot. Okay, there's a Steel Spike into Fini. Does a bit, but because we have a defense boost, we're able to take it. All right, and now what I can do is I can go into the Clefairy slot. Now, he does switch for Eternatus. I'm just going to protect the Finny just to get a little recovery from leftovers. That's good damage into Eternatus. And now, just where's the Metagross go? So he actually crits my Finny through the protect, which does matter a little bit because I could have potentially lived another attack. So I'm going to have to do a little risk here. But he's actually Cosmic Power Eternatus. I don't know why he's running that, but look at how much damage Tapu Finney's doing now. So you know, the setups are working, but he actually just goes straight for the Finny and he does kill it. So that's unfortunate there, because with Solgaleo I could have just I could have killed both of them with something like Earthquake. But I do have the Yveltal here, and now I can knock out the Metagross and even do big damage to the Eternatus with Snarl, and then Solgaleo with Earthquake can also do some big damage. Alright, so there's the chunk into Eternatus, and he actually just clicks Recover because now I click Earthquake again, I get rid of the Metagross, a little bit more chip into the Eternatus, and there's more Snarl into the Eternatus, so this is really, really nice. Again, he's clicking Cosmic Power. This doesn't work on cart, by the way. I would just timer stall this guy and I would win the game. And again, the Clefairy, I don't care. I'm just clicking Snarl. Now, I know the Eternatus is not really attacking, but he does have to have one attacking move, right? He can't have nothing. He protects again. I just keep going for Earthquake just to kill the Clefairy at the same time. And now it's a 3-on-1 with my Alecki in the back. But my Solgaleo is getting a little bit low here. He actually has Toxic, which is a little annoying. But again, I'm just going to keep clicking Earthquake, dealing big damage. Eventually, Solgaleo is going to go down here. I don't think Oblivion Wing was the call, but I clicked it anyway. And he finally has Flamethrower. So now I can just go into Regieleki here and try and paralyze him. I'm just trying to keep doing big damage. And I get the crit, and that's very much deserved if he's going to be playing this on Showdown Ladder. So don't use Cosmic Power Eternatus. It's not good. Be a more offensive one. So this one is Xerneas Calyrex Shadow Rider. Oh, I actually like this. I might try this combo also. I think it's kind of cool. But we have a Solgaleo for the Eternatus, and we have an Yveltal for Calyrex, so I think this is a pretty good matchup for us. In the beginning, he could go either Calyrex or Xerneas in the lead, which is why I'm going to go with Regieleki. I'm going to go with Yveltal as well, because then I can start clicking Snarls on both of these, whichever one he leads, and then I'll have Solgaleo in the back. So let's see what he leads. I go Alecki, I go Yveltal, he goes with Xerneas, and he goes with Indeedee. So this is fine. Again, I don't want my Yveltal to like die to a Moonblast in case he maxes this as well. So I'm just going to go into Solgaleo. He clicks Fake Out on Indeedee. Holy cack. I guess because I was flying type it matters. But again, he's going for Geomancy, but he's only +1 right now. And I can outspeed that. So I'm just going to protect my Alecki first. And just go straight ham for the Xern. But because the Indeedee click Follow Me, I get rid of the Indeedee first. And it's good to get rid of the Redirector. And my Alecki still has Sash. This is fine because now what I can do is I can guard the Solgaleo, and I can Electro Web both of these things. So Xerneas is now back to normal, and Calyrex is -1, and I outspeed Calyrex Shadow with Solgaleo because I have a very high Jolly speed. So he goes into Instant here. So I was respecting the Calyrex Shadow Rider, which is why I clicked Iron, my Steel move, into the Calyrex Shadow Rider slot. But that was a good swap into Instant. But still, the Xerneas is still very vulnerable. It's still in front of a Steel type, and Alecki's putting in work here. He goes to the Starfall, again, doesn't kill Solgaleo. And now, I'm just going to go into my Incineroar. I want to keep Alecki for the endgame. I'm just going to protect Solgaleo first, and there's the Fake Out. I expected that into the Alecki slot, and Solgaleo does take out the... does take the Starfall. And now, I know the Xerneas protects, but I can just Fake Out the Instant, and Sunsteel Strike could have killed it, but it doesn't because he protected. But I'm just going to click it again, so the Xerneas is gone. And now I can go for the Throat Chop in case he does go for that Parting Shot. I know I'm faster, but he's actually AV Instant and he U-turns anyway. But it doesn't matter because I have an Alecki in the back, and I have an Yveltal. So the game is already over. I can let both of these Mons go down if I want to, because again, like I said, I have a Yveltal and a Regieleki in the back, which is what I wanted in the end game here. Okay, so the Calyrex goes for Astral Barrage. He actually kills both. He goes to +2, but that's okay because now again we get in the Alecki, and the Yveltal. And because he's already been chipped, all you have to do is Sucker Punch the Calyrex like that, and click Thunderbolt over here, and the game is over. So relatively standard game. I know it took 10 turns, but hey, it's still pretty cool. On to the next. Okay, so this is Kyurem White, right? So this is the one that can give Yveltal some trouble. But now Alecki looks good against everything here except the Groudon, and I think I bring it anyway because I need the speed control. And Solgaleo does okay here. And Finny also looks pretty good here because of the Kyurem matchup, and also against Charizard. And you know, it can do something against the Rotom here, but again, let's see what happens here. So I'm just gonna lead my Solgaleo and my Reggie Alecki here. Now this is a really good spot here because the Kyurem is in front of the Solgaleo. I expect this, you know, to either be something like Protect, Max Guard, maybe a swap. I don't really know what the Scizor does here. So, but instead, what I could have done was Electroweb, but I went for the Volt Switch and I went into the incorrect slot, unfortunately. And there's the Steel Spike, so that's pretty good damage into Thundurus. Now, is this Prankster or Defiant? I'm gonna find out. There's the Thunder Wave. He actually misses. But there's the E-Webs. So this is just Prankster Thundurus. P-Blaze does a little bit of damage. Gets me to Sash, but then I just want to remove the Thundurus. It actually lives, which is unfortunate. And he does get off the Thunder Wave next turn. Now, this is my mistake. I should have just swapped in the Finny. I misplayed this because he doesn't get to do this if I bring in the Finny, which is and then I could have just swapped out the Alecki and preserved it for the late game, you know, against something else besides the Groudon. But I misplayed this. So now, unfortunately, my Solgaleo is paralyzed. I do kill the Thundurus though, but the instant I do get to intimidate the Groudon. But I do take big damage from P-Blades, but I do get my berry back. And that's still good damage into Groudon here, especially after the Intimidate. Now, the problem here is I'm paralyzed and he still has the Kyurem in the back waiting for the Dynamax. That's exactly what he does here. And I tried to protect, but I get paralyzed. And now he just doubles up with the Quake and he kills my Solgaleo, and that's not good. But I do get the Parting Shot off on the Kyurem. And I go into Finny now, and now I can also bring back my instant if I want to. And now this Groudon is -2. So this is still not terrible. Now if I can just start setting up the Finny, I think I'll be okay. And this Groudon's damage is not great because he's -2. So I go for the Fake Out. I don't want him to Swords Dance. I do need to get some Calm Minds. I have to give up the Incineroar, unfortunately, which I don't want to because I know he has a Scizor in the back. But we'll see if that ends up costing me. So I tried to get some speed control on the Kyurem because I don't outspeed it with the Finny. He does kill my Alecki, unfortunate, but I'm gonna have to rely on Finny here for this end game. He's going for Steel Spike bonuses. I'm not sure why. He should be going for Quakes, but there's the Scizor. Muddy Water does good damage on the Scizor, not so much to Kyurem. The accuracy drop is good into Scizor. Now, I should have played this one better. I knew he would try and switch into Groudon, and I went for Calm Mind. I think I should have just Moonblasted, because if he switches, which is what I think he should, which I knew he was going to do, because Muddy Water doesn't do a whole lot in the sun, I should have just Moonblasted this slot, and then taken out the Groudon, and then Scizor comes in, and then I think I'm okay, or in a better position than where I am now. But more Flash Cannons. Now, I can go for the Muddy Water, but I just want a little bit more HP recovery, and just to try and stall out a turn of Sun, really. Okay, so now he goes for P-Blaze. That just does way too much damage, and even though I can remove the Groudon, I don't stand a chance against Scizor, because I know that thing has Bullet Punch. So, you know, just speeding it up here a little bit. Yeah, see, like, he has Bullet Punch, so yeah, he wins that. So basically what he did, he stalled my max. He got the pair off when I should have swapped in Finny, and then I would have been in a much better spot, but that was on me. So let's just go on to the next one. Okay, so this one's Zacian Calyrex. This is actually a pretty easy matchup technically, because you have the Yveltal to pin the Calyrex, and then, you know, Solgaleo just destroys everything else, really. Instant's definitely coming because you can intimidate like half his team here. and Fake Out's really, really good. Now, that could be Defiant Thundurus, but that's okay. This is why we're leading Alecki and Solgaleo, just in case he does lead Defiant Thundurus. Then that's probably Defiant Thundurus, I have to say. So, E-Webs for the speed control, and then Max Rockfall into the Thundurus is my idea here. So there's the Defiant proc, and here we go. Rockfall, and that should kill him 10 times out of 10. Somehow he lives. I don't know how. I guess he has some bulk investment in Thundurus, but a little bit unfortunate. He goes Behemoth Blade in my Alecki, and then Airstream into the Alecki. But at the very least, you know, he kills my Alecki, but his max is gone. So, I mean, I'll take that. And here's my Instant, and there's the Calyrex. So, you know, this is a pretty good position for me because, one, the Zacian's intimidated, and it doesn't want to take a max Quake from this range. It dies. So what I can do is just protect the Solgaleo and then just go for the Throat Chop, because if this thing is Sash, then it'll get it to Sash, and then the Sand kills him. So he's in a bad spot. I think he has to switch to Calyrex here. But let's see what he does. So he actually switches the Zacian instead for the Instant, but that's not the play because I guard. He actually goes for the Will-O-Wisp instead, but that same thing. I Throat Chop, the Sash goes bye-bye, and there goes his Restricted. Now Zacian comes back, but I can sack Yveltal to the gods now. I don't really need it anymore since I got rid of Calyrex. I just need to preserve the Instant, and I get rid of his Instant, so now it's basically 3-on-1. And at this point, I just cycle Incineroar in and out, and Solgaleo can just win the game against Zacian. I don't even need a Yveltal here. But yeah, that's again, that was an easy matchup, so that one was GG. Okay, this one is an interesting one. So Ho-Oh Sun with Groudon, right? And there's a Ferrothorn for some reason. I don't know why that's here. But Solgaleo looks good. So does Yveltal in the back. I don't think I want Alecki this game because there's 2 ground types, even though there's a Ho-Oh. I do like Finny. But yeah, so I think Solgaleo Finny is a good lead here. Just in case that's like Prankster Thundurus, although I highly doubt it. And then in the back, Yveltal can come in Instant, because Instant can intimidate everything here. It's good against the Ferrothorn if he wants. Now, if that's Defiant Thundurus, I mean, that's fine. I have a foul play on Yveltal. I just have to somehow get more speed control on it. But anyway, let's see what it is. So he does lead the Thundurus here. He does lead Groudon. Thundydon here. So maybe trying to catch my Incineroar here. But right away, I can just put pressure on the Groudon here. I just protect the Finny just in case he goes for Max Lightning to set terrain. I don't know why he did this. Maybe he thought I was going to go for Muddy Water, or maybe Max Rockfall, and then he would resist it. But I'm just going straight for the Groudon. Steel Spike, okay, and he clicks Swords Dance, so that's a free turn for me. I'll take that. And he just forfeits. I don't know what that was, but I would have just kept playing. Okay, so this one is against Rowan, and I know it's Rowan because it says Rowan Test. So if you don't know who Rowan is, he got 2nd place in the Atlanta Locals back in October, a tournament that I casted. All right, and we actually collabed with Rowan on YouTube because we featured his team, and he joined us on call. But this is Rowan. He's got Zacian Rayquaza here. So the Blastoise is a little bit problematic, which is why I'm going to have to bring the Alecki. He has the Instant, he has the Ferrothorn and the Zacian, so I do want Instant as well. Solgaleo for sure, that's going to be my main max option. And then I think Finny looks pretty good against the Rayquaza and even the Blastoise and Instant to a degree, so I think that's what I want. I'm going to leave Yveltal on the bench this game. So Solgaleo Finny's to start. There's another Thundurus. There's a Blastoise. Now, here's the thing. I was considering, is this Defiant or Prankster, right? Typically on these teams, this is Prankster Thundurus, right? And this is also why I wanted to lead Finny. So I maxed the Solgaleo. He maxes the Blastoise. So max against max. I knew this would be. And he actually has Eerie Impulse. So that puts a downer on my plans for Tapu Finny. And I just go for a Calm Minds here. So I'm trying to get my Finny back into this game here. But he actually goes into Zacian because I was going to go for that Rockfall. So great switch from Rowan there to bait out the Rockfall and have Zacian just absorb it. Now, I do go for the Moonblast into Blastoise to reduce its damage. I do get the drop, which is nice, but Solgaleo is taking some chip damage here. which is not so great. Now back into Thundurus, just in case he thought I was going to go for Quake, but I just want the Spadef boost onto the Finny because I'm going for a Calm Minds. Now I'm back to normal with +3 Spadef. But how's that going to help me against Zacian? Probably not that much. Okay, now Solgaleo has Max has ended, so has Blastoise. I'm just going to protect the Finny one more time. He goes for the Impulse here. I go for Rock Slide. I remove the Blastoise, which is good. Now the Thundurus was chipped, but he gets the Berry Recovery, and I do lose to the Cannonade, unfortunately. But max for max. So here's Incin and here's Zacian. So this is already okay, not too bad. I intimidate the Zacian. Now the problem here is what can I do with the Finny, because this Thundurus is being a nuisance. So I just go for the Fake Out on the Thundurus here, and he Sacred Swords my Instant, does a lot. I get my Berry proc, and I just want the Muddy Water to recover, but it just doesn't knock out the Thundurus. I don't know, is that Calm Natured Thundurus, Rowan? I really thought that could have maybe killed him, but it did not, especially with the Sandstorm. But I'm a little unlucky there, because if I get that KO, that's really, really big, because then the Zacian is trapped here and I can just cycle my instant out. But the Thundurus lives, and that's pivotal in this matchup, because now I have to protect, and I actually give up the instant, which I think is the throw of the game because of what he has in the back. But here's the Alecki. Alecki's not in a bad spot here. He impulses the Alecki instead. That caught me off guard. I finally get rid of the Thundurus. I think the play there should have been to protect the Alecki and just, you know, Muddy Water with the Finny, because now he has the Ferrothorn, and this is why letting Incin go down was a throw, because I have nothing for these two. I should have just sacked the Alecki to the gods and just preserved the Incin. I actually forgot he had this Ferrothorn. I thought he would have Rayquaza in the back, so I was surprised that he didn't bring it. But you don't always have to bring your restricted. So Zacian goes down. Unfortunately, he does land the Power Whip, and I can't do much with the Alecki because I was Eerie Impulse and no Parahacks for me, which means the Ferrothorn gets to the end game here, and there it is. So good match with Rowan. Run it back. I know that Thundurus is now Prankster, and I know how to play it now. But yeah, great match with Rowan. So shout out to him. Nice team he's got there with Zacian and Rayquaza. So let's do one more. Okay, Swordfish with Tailwind. All right, so this is a pretty easy one. This is where Grimmsnarl can come into the game, right? So Solgaleo Grim is really good, and then have Incin in the back to intimidate the Zacian and the Rillaboom, and then just have late game Fake Out Pressure, and then, you know, Yveltal can also come in, because everything here is actually relatively weak to Yveltal, technically, besides the Finny. I'm sorry, not besides the Finny, besides the Zacian. So here we go. So he actually leads Rillaboom and Zacian. Oh, you already know what's coming next. You already know what's coming next. Of course, I'm pivoting out the Grimmsnarl into Incin, Dynamaxing the Solgaleo. I'm going to punish the Zacian if he goes for Behemoth Blade into the Grimmsnarl. They always want to, but we outsmart him. We go for the Quake, deal big damage. It actually lives, which tells me he's bulky adamant. All right. But now he's just in a really bad spot, and of course he forfeits. There's no way he can play this out. It's just too punishing. Like, you always Quake this slot no matter what. He has no switch in for this. There's no flying type. Even if he switches out the Zacian, what can he switch it out for? The Quake just helps me in the end game against Kyogre, and even if he doesn't switch in Kyogre, again, it helps me in the end game. If he goes, the Rillaboom is more likely to switch out into Kyogre, which is why I would just Parting Shot this and go into my Grimmsnarl and then just start preparing for the end game with screens, and then Yveltal just wins in the end. But yeah, from this turn on, the game was already over, and which is why he forfeited. Here's the team one more time. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, you know, we got to use all 6 Mons mostly. I mean, I could have brought the Grimmsnarl in some games a little more, but overall I think it was okay. I think I should have brought it against the Kyurem game. That one I'm still a little salty about. I should have played that one a little bit better. But yeah, overall, like, Yveltal is really good into Calyrex Shadow games. I think we won all the Calyrex Shadow games. Swordfish is pretty easy. Well, easier to deal with because you have the tools. Finny's a good end game. Against the Sun matchup, you have to play it a little bit better. I think the Grimmsnarl comes in most of those games, having played the team a little bit more, and just, you know, setting up screens and then having late game Yveltal against stuff like Groudon and Venusaur is actually really nice. And Finny helps there too. So in the Sun games, I think Grimmsnarl, Finny, and Yveltal have to come, and then from there, maybe you want like either Instant or Solgaleo. I don't think you bring a Lucky. I don't like bringing a Lucky against Groudon teams, so I tried it. It didn't really work out the way I wanted, but yeah. So this is going to be a rental code. I mean, this is going to be for March. Let me know what you think of this team. I think this is a nice way to try and use Yveltal Solgaleo. This archetype has some promise, and I think it just needs to be explored a little bit more. So I'm going to start with this. Now, this team may change in like April or even in the middle of March, but for now, I think I like where it is. I think it's solid. You'll definitely win some Master Ball tier games. So yeah. Let me know what you think, but until next time, we'll be back with another Series 12 video. Have a good one.